Welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name is Brody, and I'll be hosting this episode with my co-hosts Amanda and Christian as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from Obi Wan Kenobi, Part 1 and 2. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where these pieces of Star Wars content ranks amongst the rest. Now, with that said, let's get this show started. Amanda and Christian, we are finally live.
We're live
On YouTube.
We're live on
We're live
YouTube.
right here.
It looks cool. The border, the like and subscribe button.
Yeah,
those are
look
cool.
At that. I
Yeah,
Check
know.
those
imagine
out.
if you clicked it.
I know.
What would happen?
I don't know. You could just all of a sudden follow all the Duel of the Rings content all the time.
Oh, so
Check
you
out
mean
our
you
funny
would,
clips.
yeah, you would get notifications when we went live and be able to join in on the
Mm.
conversation and yell at us when we're like,
Be lots of fun. Speaking of things that are a lot of fun, Kenobi came out last week.
yes, it
Yeah,
did.
we've gotten to
Finally,
see it. We've laid our eyes on it.
with 2 episodes,
2 whole episodes.
Yeah.
which was funny because we recorded last week on Thursday,
did.
knowing that Obi-Wan came out on Friday, or they were at least giving us the first 2 episodes on Friday.
Yeah.
But the fact that they decided to release it on the schedule so it would come back out on Wednesday was
Yeah.
like Christmas Day for us.
Yeah.
We're like,
Mhm.
we thought we were going to have to be a week behind every time. Now we're one of the first.
I know. Speaking of one of the first, we knew some fellow podcasters, like we know the Pod Ones folks. They were out at Star Wars Celebration. One of them got to see an early screening of the first 2 episodes and was in the same room as Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor.
Can you
when
imagine
watched
Can
it.
you imagine breathing the same air as them?
Watching it.
Wow.
You're
He's-
watching what they're watching.
I
at
know.
the
He's
time
going to
they're
be
watching.
on next week to talk about his experiences at Star Wars Celebration. So
I want his autograph just because he's seen them in the flesh.
Yeah.
I don't know your last name, but I need your autograph.
You're the closest I've ever been to them.
Yeah, you have been in the same room, and thus I need your autograph. Well, what's our first impressions? What do we think of the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan?
Oof. Well, I feel like we have to address that we left off on the last episode believing that Obi-Wan Kenobi was going to be for kids under 10.
Yes.
And
yeah,
the
yeah.
immediate thing that Brody and I noticed as soon as we started watching it after we recorded is it said TV 14. And we were like, yeah, violence. And that was my first impression, is that it was as dark and emotionally charged as I needed it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It starts off on a good foot. I think it's setting up really well. And it's cool to see that we're finally getting Obi live action in this format. And just the way they're handling it with the story, the setup, I think it's, I don't know, it's really fun to see how it's beginning and makes me excited for what is to come. It's not like, oh, geez, this is different. This is low budget crap on a screen. I'll have to get through this one.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't low budget at all. It's funny because you can't help but try to compare it to like Book of Boba Fett because that's one
Yeah.
of the most recent things that we've
Yeah.
reviewed. But immediately the pacing is already like so much better than Book of Boba
Yeah.
Fett. If you remember, we were talking about how like the first 3 episodes felt like it could have been just 1 episode.
Yeah.
And I think they did a great job at getting the story started and showing what the day-to-day life is of
Yep.
Ben Kenobi in hiding without it dragging.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like we're confused about anything either. Like,
Right.
Or, not that we have to always get it all the time, but it's great when you can avoid mass confusion of the fans.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, Amanda, take us through the first 2 episodes of Kenobi. What was it all about?
So the first episode starts 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. Ben Kenobi remains hidden from the Force in Tatooine, haunted by his failures. A desperate Bail Organa calls upon Ben to save his daughter Leia from kidnappers, while Inquisitors are on the hunt for any trace of Jedi.
It's been interesting to see the amount of, I don't want to use the word hate, but a lot of folks have had strong feelings against specific characters or things from characters in these first 2 episodes. Like we had Leia, who had a chase scene.
Mhm.
Lots of folks didn't appreciate that. Seems like Reva's a character people are kind of take it or leave it right now with.
I'm
So,
wondering what they all have in common.
oh well,
Hmm.
I can't say there. I will put one extra thing out there though. There is also like I think it's got a 58% tomato score by the fans on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Wow, people are.
lots of 1-star reviews are coming in right now.
You know what's funny?
Lots
That
of hate.
number means nothing to us.
No,
Yeah.
'Cause we actually
that's not
have
even the
numbers.
official number
Yeah.
because
As
this
the
is
people-
the official number.
As the people who have the official numbers, well, I mean that is a real thing. There is like a lot of people going in and spamming just to spam. So, you know, it kind of is unfortunate because people have been waiting forever, and you see that people have. I mean, again, we're talking about Leia running away from whatever. I don't want to say pirates, criminals, crooks, whatever they are. She's running away from them. People are getting nitpicky on that. People are unhappy with the character Reva, who's we were discussing before the show, hasn't really done a whole lot
Yeah,
yet.
like
So
how can you decide you don't like a character in
To
the
love or
first
hate.
episode? Like,
love or
wow. Like,
and
you're
then
not
to
going to
go
know
in-
everything
well-
about them in the first episode. It's going to be revealed over
Yeah.
time.
And let's be clear. There's a difference between like hating on the actors and just not liking a character. And
Yeah.
we hope, you know, you're smart enough to figure that out.
Yeah.
But like in defense of the whole Leia chase scene, that was clunky and awkward and kind of cringe. Like if you watch, like that wasn't a very well done chase scene, or like you could tell,
Sure.
oh, we should slow down, we're catching up to the girl or whatnot. But like there's nothing to diss on
But
the actress. Or
I
like she was
loved-
doing a great job.
I loved her little stunt, though. Like, she had her
Yeah,
little, like,
she did
slide
her
thing. And I was
slide.
like, yeah.
Like there was really nothing on her fault.
it was
the
cool
chasers.
to see then a child actor get that moment of getting the action sequence,
Yeah.
it being focused on her. So,
She did a cool baseball slide.
yeah.
That was cool. It was like it was the adults that made it feel cringe, and like it just wasn't that great of a from a technical aspects point of view.
Mhm.
But then like on the subject of like Reva and her character, I'm like, dang, she's merciless.
Yeah.
She's a killer.
Yeah.
And like she comes off really strong, and yeah, like as a character, I don't think you're supposed to like I don't see much to like or fall in love with like that character, other than it's pretty convincing she's pretty passionate about like
Getting Obi-Wan.
getting Obi-Wan by whatever means necessary. And
Yeah.
so I think that's a strong character right there.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see where the show takes her. I just again, when the show comes out, just the flood of people loving it, flood of people hating it, and I'm like, okay, why are people throwing out hate? And it's again a lot of half-baked reasons
Yeah.
so far is what I'm seeing. So time for our reasons, the real reasons, the only reasons.
Yeah.
The only reason.
The only reasons that matter. The Duel of the Ranks reasons. I'll tell you what, I liked these first 2 episodes. They're not perfect though, by any means. But they're
I
really
will
good.
I will go as far as to say that they are on track to be the best Disney era content released.
Okay.
Maybe that's an early hot take.
No, I mean, I
Like-
don't think it doesn't ruffle my feathers, because I think they start off solid. Like
Yeah.
it starts off solid. It's interesting because you're starting off with this, you're already boxed in to a time frame,
Mhm.
to Obi-Wan, to all these rules now. And I think when you're doing this well with 2 episodes, you know, with that kind of a box, I'm excited for the next ones to come. But,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it looked good. The acting is great. I think setting up the story for Obi to leave Tatooine, like he better have a good reason to do that, you know.
That was a great
And
reason.
Mhm.
I can't think of really a better reason than to save the other Skywalker.
I can't believe how my brain didn't even register that seeing young Leia was a possibility in this show. Like, when she appeared on screen, I was like, no way, no, this isn't
I
happening.
know.
Like, I was just totally taken by surprise.
And it's also cool because obviously she's building a relationship with someone she knows named Ben.
And
she
names
named her
Kid
son Ben. I'm like, the depth You added to that now. The depth.
Oh,
I mean, now there are a lot of fans also calling out that Princess Leia does have that what is it, the hologram message she has on R2D2 where
Yeah, years ago you served my father.
I served my father in the Clone Wars, and people are saying, oh, why were you so formal if you knew him, kind of thing.
oh my God. Because that was recorded before this was ever a thing. That's why. Answer right there. Boom. As if George Lucas didn't retcon like anything he ever made. You know,
Yeah.
like, come on.
And I also will say he has not introduced himself as Obi-Wan yet to her. So, I mean, she could legitimately think they're two different people. Still. We'll see. That's not a great
I can't
reason.
believe that's just such a stupidly specific thing to get upset about.
There's a lot of stupidly specific things people are upset about.
I wanted to jump back to Reva and how I was really hoping that we would get a super badass character from her, and was really hoping that we would get violence, especially since we came right off of the Bad Batch, which was like stun gun central.
Milk toast stuns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this delivers, like the way that she busts out on Tatooine and like is chopping people's arms off already. I was like, okay,
Like, dang it.
yeah.
They had a hand. They
Now they
needed
don't.
that hand. You took away that hand.
That
Just
hand is
so
no longer
casually.
there.
Need a hand? Pick it up.
Clearly you do. Yeah, I don't know. I she's dark. Sure. She's kind of feels like that rabid dog, wild animal kind of thing where, you know, they kind of hold her back.
Uncontrolled rage. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like holding her back. They're like, all
Yeah.
right, don't if we have to let her go, you're going to regret it.
And it's kind of like, are we supposed to just imply or infer she was part of that group of the young Jedi during that flashback to Order 66? Like, that's kind of what I'm like.
Yeah,
I like that
feeling.
theory.
Like,
That's a
like,
fun theory.
I was like, okay, I can get behind implying that that's supposed to be her. You know,
I thought that just was.
Which
Saw
I
the girl
also
with
loved
braids.
that we cold open on Order 66. That was
Very
a great
cool.
POV.
very cool.
Yes.
Intense.
The palace, like the temple
Yes.
pillars, and I do love. Even though we've all seen it before, but like I loved the recap of the prequels before
Me
and the edit
too.
of that. Like it was really cool to have an edit and like that kind of narration over. I loved watching the prequels that way too. And I was like,
Yeah.
telling my wife, you need to come here and watch this. If anything, you need to watch that part. All right?
It surmised the prequels. If like you don't want to watch the whole thing,
It
just watch
surmised
that.
like Obi's prequels.
Well, and then they also bring it
best part
back
of the
into the
prequels.
actual footage of the show. Like they bring back the audio and clips in his flashbacks that are like directly lifted
Yeah.
from the films, which is cool. I'm glad that they do that.
Yeah. Which, looking at our scores, the highest category for this is episode 1. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
talking about. The highest category we had was the immersive universe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes
I think
sense.
Kind of getting back to that whole box idea, you know, like you're throwing a lot in there, but it's making sense and it works, and like it's really cool to have in this time period to see what good old Ben is up to.
Oh, and
messing
what
with
is he
Tika.
up to? Another thing. Again, I hear a lot of negativity around this, so I'm just gonna keep.
Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
man?
I just keep seeing stuff. One of the things people are unhappy about as well is the portrayal of Ben. I think this is a minority. I think most people are happy with it. But again, looking at Obi-Wan, he's a disgruntled old Jedi.
oh my gosh, he should
What are
be
they
so
di-
much happier. Why doesn't he just smile a little bit?
What are they not happy with?
I don't know. I think he reminds them too much of Luke from The Last Jedi. I'm
Let's
like,
unpack that.
people have to stay the same
Forever.
ever. You can't change.
Yeah.
No development.
I mean, what do you say? We lost. It's over.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know, bury your saber in the sand.
The
I
time
love
for the
it.
Jedi is over
and-
is literally what he says.
Yeah.
I love that.
I
Yeah,
love
do.
that too. My Last Jedi heart was like, yeah, freaking say it with your chest.
I was thinking that though. I was like, all right, people, if you had a problem with Luke, you better have a problem with
You're-
Obi-Wan.
yeah,
You're
you're freaking better. I'll save that for my hot
Same.
take.
the same guy.
I don't remember what I was gonna say.
He's defeated. He
Yeah.
seems kind of cut off from the Force.
And it makes
Very cut
sense.
off.
Yeah, his acting, first of all, just like beautiful to look at on screen because you can see his story on his face.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Just What is he doing? I don't even know what he's doing with that fish meat every day or whatever it is.
I love how they just leave it out in the open for it to get like spoiled.
I was thinking that too. I was like, that's kind of
You're not
nasty.
gonna put it on
but
ice.
No salt
Gonna
on
leave
it.
it there, just like a
nothing.
dust, sand.
Packaging it,
Puts a little in the shirt.
punch card and the gonk droid. I liked that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of little cool things like that. Like, what's the toy that he gives?
What is
Uncle-
it, like T16 or T18?
Oh yeah.
A bunch of cool little
Yeah.
nods like that
Yeah.
in this episode. But yeah, it was crazy to see just disheartened, disconnected Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you do see the return of some Jedi
Mm-hmm.
who wants to basically get a part, do something, be a part of some rebellion or just fight against the Empire. And Obi-Wan not only is not interested in it, he just seems so apathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Which is an interesting jumping off point because that's obviously not the Ben Kenobi we see in A New Hope. So it's going to be cool to see, him go so low and hopefully end this series on a high note for himself.
In some way, yeah, maybe. I did like the intro of the Inquisitors and how it's quiet. They're just walking
Mhm.
through the village and they go in the restaurant, and I liked introducing them that way, seeing the Grand Inquisitor kind of just going off telling his version of this whole plot against the Jedi. Or the Jedi will... A common theme is, like, they're always saying the Jedi are going to be their own downfall. They're finding... Like, they will find themselves out. They will reveal themselves to us,
That was very reminiscent for me of Inglourious Bastards when
Yeah,
Christoph
I've
Waltz
seen-
walks in the
yeah.
building, and he even had kind of that Austrian accent where they over-enunciate like everything there.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in and he's just like, the Jedi's compassion is like an itch.
an
He cannot help it. Like I was bought in. I was very, very bought in. Hot take, I would have rather had him be the main Inquisitor rather than Reva already, just because of how he said that line. I was like, you're very interesting. You can have more screen time. Oh, he's not going to get more screen time, folks.
Yeah.
At least not in this show.
Yeah. I was surprised when that happened. Like, just the whole...
Just stabbed him. But they have two stomachs, so he's okay.
Yeah.
Wait, we're talking about episode 2 now?
Just all together. It's
Kinda
just one
jumping
big arc.
around.
It's one big arc.
Should I at least remind people what? Well, we should talk about what we ranked episode 1 officially.
Well, then we should probably list why we listed it so low. Everyone...
Not terribly low.
Oh, guys, it's bad.
The immersive
reasonable.
universe was like the highest point for us, and the lowest point for us
Okay.
was the music.
Let's why don't we, since we probably have some new listeners, just remind people what our table looks like when we're scoring.
Yes, we go off of 5 different categories here. We have the story, the characters, technical aspects, music, and the immersive universe. Each of us give it between 1 to 5 stars, and there's decimals in there, so it gets a little bit messy. And then we take the average of our 3 ratings and come up with a 0 to 100% scale. This one coming to Obi-Wan Episode 1, 78.13.
And that's because Brody gave it a 19.2 out of 25. I gave it a 20 out of 25, and Christian gave it a 19.4 out of 25.
So yeah,
Boom.
I gave it the lowest rating at 76.8%. Amanda at the highest of 80. So really, we have all just praised why it's good. We've kind of, all of the haters that have come up, we've brought up why those reasons are null and void. Those aren't good reasons to hate, but clearly we don't 100% love this. So what are the real reasons that this isn't a perfect episode?
What's the real reason? I personally, well, like, as a group, we ranked the music as like the lowest category,
Mhm.
which I think it was cool to, like, we're hearing kind of like that Obi-Wan theme for the first time, but it's not like, I don't want to say fresh or whatnot, but it's not like it's inventing anything
Right.
new. It's taking a
Yeah.
lot of the flavors and not breaking rules, but I think that's why we ranked the immersive universe so high.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I ranked, out of all the categories, the story was the lowest category for me, not because it was bad. I still gave it a 3.5 out of 5. But
So that's 70%.
yeah, so like I gave it that because, again, it's not like it's inventing much new, because we already have a lot of like Legends material about this time frame. We have an idea of what Obi-Wan, how he would be thinking at this time. And so it's not like you're reinventing the wheel or doing something like the you know, the prequels or something different, you know.
Yeah. No, I think the story was fine. It didn't, as you said, it didn't do anything that really challenged an audience out the gate. My biggest take on that was there wasn't a real hook. Like the first episode for me felt a lot like a Star Wars version of Taken, and the second episode felt like a Star Wars episode of, I don't know, James Bond or something, where it was kind of a spy, like he dresses up, it's an extraction mission kind of thing. And from the story perspective, neither of these two for me really felt like they were doing anything that was really challenging a common blueprint for success with.
But the
audience.
story
I think it
is
was, like-
more than just the plot, which is
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, we do have to like, it's essentially an extraction episode, but it's like you're seeing Obi-Wan now interact with like the example of his biggest failure and the growth and dialogue and all of those pieces that are all embedded in the story. So it can't just be the plot, but the overall.
That's where I put more of like the
movement.
characters in that
Yeah.
scope, though, like the gritty details of their dialogue and how they carry the story.
Yeah, you see how Owen feels now. You see how the Inquisitors are coming at it. Yeah.
And no, I think the characters for the first one, I actually gave that a lower score than the story. Speaking of the details, I gave that a 3.5 myself, just because, again, 70%, mostly because everyone was just fine this episode.
I gave him a little higher of a score.
You did give him a higher score.
Amanda, you gave him a high score too.
Yeah.
Same score that Christian gave him.
I have nothing bad to say. To me, when I'm thinking about a 1 through 5 score, a 5 for me is perfect, wouldn't change a single thing. 4 is great. 3 is good. 2 is fine. And 1 is just objectively bad. So that's sort of how I mentally think of those. And I stand by it. Like 4s are all really great. The lowest thing I gave it was a 3.5 for music, which Christian kind of already said. At first, like I had to actually go and listen to Obi-Wan's theme after the episode was over because I couldn't tell what it was.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, where is it? Is it the Force thing? Like, you know. But once I like sat down and I listened to the full Obi-Wan theme, I was like, yes, this is very good, but it didn't pull me out of the episode in like a way that I was
it wasn't
moved.
like it wasn't like, oh, the music's really getting really good right now.
Yeah.
It's like and part of that is the music is, if you're immersed in it, the music is doing its job.
True.
But there are things that we've talked about before and ranked before, especially like Revenge of the Sith, where you have to acknowledge the music. You're like, oh, I feel this way. I know because of the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Williams and Ludwig Göransson now, 2 iconic composers for Star Wars. Natalie Holt, yet to be determined. But continuing on, yeah, it looks like technical aspects, we all gave it a pretty good score too. The costume design was great. Set looked great.
Oh yeah.
No
yeah,
complaints.
I mean, it just, you could tell, especially again to Boba Fett, like that was like a set, and this feels like it could be a movie. Like it's got all of the fixins and all of
Although I was a little taken out by the way Alderaan looked a little glossy, a little too 3D, a little bit CGI. Yeah, I don't know.
I
if
liked it.
I don't know.
I
was like,
the
holy
way the
crap, we're gonna see Alderaan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me out of it just a little bit, not a lot.
Well,
Wasn't
because we've
perfect.
never seen Alderaan.
Not on screen.
So I was like, wait, where are we? And then they started dressing her, and I was like, no.
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 What are you
Dan.
doing?
I do think she portrays Leia really well.
Oh my gosh, perfectly. Oh, and the fact that she's actually just 10 years old.
I know.
Fantastic. I mean, it can't be that easy to embody so much personality of like a legend.
Yeah.
But I was so proud of her.
Can we talk about her interaction with her stepdad?
Oh, I want to get into that a little bit more later in my hot take.
It was so nice. It was so nice. Not even calling him by his name because he's her dad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, Bail.
Dad.
But I will say though too, as someone who grew up watching Episode 3, it's cool to see them continually in Rogue One, and now this bring back Bail Organa. Forgetting the actor's name right now, but
sorry, Bail.
I know, but yeah, it's fun to see him back, and I think right now this is my favorite role I've seen him in yet because he's just got that great chemistry with Leia.
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
it was great seeing him. Great seeing C-3PO, R2 rolling in
Oh,
the
yeah.
background.
Oh yeah, and C-3PO for you, who carried the sequel trilogy.
Carried on his back like Chewbacca carried him in Empire.
Yeah,
Nah,
the hero of the sequel trilogy.
but his mind was wiped,
Mm-hmm.
and
True.
so he's starting fresh.
That makes sense.
Starting fresh, new beginnings.
Yeah. All right. Well, do we have anything else we want to add about Episode 1 before we really take a deep dive into the second episode?
The overall, did we announce the overall score?
78.13%.
Percent.
Percent. All right. Well, going into this next one, it doesn't look like it's much better. The second episode we gave it a 76.67%.
But we're on Dayu.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Obi-Wan heads to Dayu to rescue young Princess Leia from kidnappers. Reva waits for him to take the bait in hopes to deliver Obi-Wan to Lord Vader. A fake Jedi, Haja, offers him and Leia safe passage off-world, but when cornered by Reva, Obi-Wan learns that Anakin is still alive.
All right, so funny story there. I'm watching this with my at my buddy's house. It's like, I don't know. It's obscenely late. It's like 2 a.m. And he looks over at me because it's like the end credits. I'm, I guess, sleeping at this point, and he doesn't know I'm sleeping because I'm sitting up, my eyes like barely closed, I guess.
Mhm.
And he's like, wow, like Brody must have really loved this because he's in some like deep thought, just taking it all in, not saying anything. I was still holding my drink in my hand. And eventually, like, he kind of is just like, that was good. I don't say anything. It's like, then he realizes I was asleep, and he's like, oh, dude. And he's like, dude, let's be honest. Just how much did you miss? I was like, I don't think much. He's like, no, seriously, how much did you miss? How much do I need to go back? And so he starts skimming with the remote, and he's like, starts showing me images of like different things. He's like, what happened here? And I'm like, oh yeah, Obi-Wan like, fights this guy and rescues Leia. Okay, what happened here? Well, that's where the Grand Inquisitor got stabbed. It's like, well, what happened here? It's like, what's the last thing you remember? And I was like, Obi-Wan says, Anakin. And then it fades to black. It's like, are you kidding me? There's one really important thing you gotta watch after that. I'm like, are you sure? Sure enough, there's Vader.
In the back to tank.
Yeah, in the back to tank. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. It's like,
That's cool. That's cool.
You fell asleep during that? Just lost his mind. He's like, the screen faded to black, and you thought that gave you permission to just go to sleep?
Oh,
Has Marvel movies taught you nothing?
That was the first time you saw that?
No.
That's
That's the other funny part about that. Mike, I haven't told you this yet, but he's going through and he's like legitimately showing me scene by scene, like images, like there's no way he was like awake through all this. How on earth does he know?
because you watched it already.
I had already seen it. And so I fell asleep like first 10 minutes in.
And he was like,
and Mike's
"How?"
like, how does he know all of this? Like, even in that same pose forever. Well, it's because I already seen it. But
Yeah.
now you know, Mike. Anyway.
Tell me about the moment you first saw Vader.
The moment I first saw Vader.
Were you just like, oh, that's cool?
No, I don't know. I wasn't. I mean, I was excited, but I
My
wasn't.
hands were covering my mouth. I was freaking out because it was obviously late at night. And yeah, just seeing Ewan's face when he says Anakin and it cuts to him. And the music there too was also so good. Like it just like really hits home. It also reminded me of in Rebels when Ahsoka also like has that moment when she's like, Anakin.
Oh yeah, yep.
So those parallels, love to see it. Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
I still can't even speak. It's just so cool. It's
But
so cool.
Can we all agree that the overall story for this episode, just the story, a little bit
Just the
milquetoast,
story was all right.
Just
Again,
soft,
3.5
kinda
for
soft.
me is good. Is good.
It wasn't the lowest category though of the 5 for us on this one. It was the music.
again,
A little lower than last time.
even
But
worse.
maybe because we were just so absorbed into Dayu and that whole place. But it was a good kind of like this suspenseful chase. It's a chase, you know, the whole way through.
Are they gonna where are they gonna get caught? Like
Yep.
who's gonna catch them? What are the consequences
Yep.
of that? Like are still like has you
Yeah.
guessing. For me, what made this episode so fun to watch was more of the characters in the immersive universe.
Yeah.
Like we're on a new planet, so already that's like building the immersive universe. It's also sort of like a planet of crime
Yeah.
and like
But they like their privacy.
They
You know,
like
they
that?
were
yeah. But the way Leia and Obi-Wan interact with is just so charming and feels so like they've been living this life forever. Like
Yeah.
they've all been in Star Wars this whole time. Like she just naturally fits in so well. How she was like maybe your grandkid or something.
yeah,
And then how like she gets that little shawl and is looking at the gloves and he's like, you don't need those. And then he's like, and the gloves. And I was like, oh my God, little Uncle Ben
Uncle Ben.
treating his little niece. That's so
Yeah.
cute.
I know.
The immersive universe, yeah, again, I loved seeing everything in the background. I was like trying to find out or see all these different creatures in the background as well.
Mhm.
And then combat Obi-Wan, hand-to-hand combat. Like, I loved watching that. That was
Me
cool, and it makes
too.
sense. You know, he's rusty. It hurts
Yes.
his hand, hitting the horns on,
Yes,
you know.
I loved that we saw him get his ass kicked, but still kicked their ass.
Yeah.
I was like, it makes sense that he's an old guy and he's getting beat up.
Yeah, he's putting in an effort.
I liked
you
the
know?
choreo of that fight.
Yeah.
And Haja, hilarious.
Yeah.
I think he's fun. I think for the first 2 episodes, I think they did comedy well. Like, it wasn't overdoing it.
Mhm.
I liked
Tika
him a
was
lot.
funny. Like, Tika the Jawa is funny
Mhm.
with Obi. I
Mhm.
loved that scene.
Yeah.
Haja is hilarious. Like, I thought that worked out really well. He's like, the shadows are my realm.
I like credits. Credits are good. You can buy things.
Yeah. So I thought it worked, you know?
Mhm.
I was fine with that.
No, I thought it was good too. I also do want to add, speaking about that Jawa part, it was cool to see Obi-Wan's relationship with him there, kind of basically being a repair person for droids and stuff, which helps make sense how he has a relationship with them and knows more about them come the time of A New Hope. So,
And he's a customer of them.
yeah, very cool. Dug all of that. No, characters were cool. I mean, I gave him a decent score. Again, 3.5 out of 5, so 70% for characters. It's nothing really. I will say, though, for me, Reva kind of came more into her own for me in this episode. Of any of the ones I've seen, I liked her the most at this point because you really do see that ambition. And I like, what was it the Grand Inquisitor said when he pops out? He's like, I find I can tolerate the seething nature of your ambition no longer. Something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was really cool because, again, she's so focused on credit. She's not worried about the mission. And because of that, they're about to get Obi-Wan. And she steps in the way just to stab the Grand Inquisitor, losing Obi-Wan because of that.
Mhm.
She's like, I don't care about getting him. All I care about is that I get him.
Mhm.
It's not about the getting him part. It's about the me part.
Mhm.
And I don't know. There's a lot to very reckless, but very, very, very determined at the same time.
But she's also calculated too. Like, this was her
Oh, yeah.
plan to lure him.
Yeah, and it's a dark plan, and even the other Inquisitors are like, you had no right to go that far.
Yeah.
And that already sets the stage of like, wow, she is beyond even the evil of these people.
Yeah. And what did they say? That she came from the gutter.
Yeah.
It's kind of the
Yeah.
lowest of the low to them.
Gutter.
Yeah.
Scum.
Interesting stuff.
Mm.
Be interesting to see where they take Reva for the rest of this show. But
Yeah, I did like her in this. Did we mention the highest category for this episode? We put the technical aspects. That was like the highlight for this one. And I
Oh.
think it was just done well. It looked cool, all the different colors.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think it felt like a good scale, like rooftop jumping, seeing the place.
Yep.
Mhm.
It didn't feel like a
I will-
TV budget.
I will say Riva's like jumping off of the like roofs was a little unnecessary.
Little spin around.
Yeah, it was
pole.
like, and how like, I don't know, was she doing like backflips or like that's like moving opposite
The
direction? like, you wanna-
backflip was a little like,
Okay.
that's a show off move,
Yeah.
not a functional move.
But then like, yeah, it was a little bit slower, and the whole point was to like show where Obi-Wan was, and then she would like follow them. And then there's that scene obviously where Obi-Wan taps into the Force again to save Leia from hitting the ground. And then all of a sudden he's like on the ground, and then they like run away. And I'm like, shouldn't Riva be like there like right now? Like she was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
moving. Like that the stakes needed to be a little bit
She
higher
needed
for
to
that getaway.
Get something to eat. Get
She had
something
all
to
those
drink.
flips. She had to take a break.
Yeah, I bet.
All that flippity floppity she was doing up there. No, the technical aspects were really good. Again, music was a little so for me, but immersive universe, it was cool. Who was the guy everyone thought was from Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Flea. That was him.
It was him?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. Yeah, you pointed that out first. I wasn't sure or not. I didn't look
Yeah,
it
that
up
was
at
Flea.
all afterwards.
That's all I missed it.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Well, that was cool. Well, for this one, we gave it a 76.67%. So really good overall. Again, for all the folks who are so upset that how on earth could we not give it an A+ score? IMDb also gave it a 7.8 out of 10. So we're like close from a critical perspective, stacking up this content against some of the best. Also, this is some of the better content we've ranked for the shows.
Period.
It
yeah.
is
Oh,
a
yeah.
good number. Like that's solid 76. Yeah, like even out of that 10-point scale. Like just think of that. That's good and
And
it's
we
worth your
have-
time.
We also have like the episode rankings. Are you able to pull up where those two episodes fall against the what we've ranked for Bad Batch season 1 and Book of Boba Fett?
I do. I've got
Sorry.
that right here. I have, let's see, full show ranking.
Episode rankings.
Oh, yeah, right there. All right. So right now, the number one piece of content we have is the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 6, From the Desert Comes a Stranger, which first introduction to Cad Bane. Pretty good. These two parts, again, all we've done is the first season of Bad Batch, Book of Boba Fett, and this. So no Mandalorian yet, or Clone Wars, or Rebels.
No.
But from all of those pieces, still, Part 1 and Part 2 fall number 2 and 3. So again, Chapter 6, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 1, Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 2, then followed number 4 with Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 7, In the Name of Honor, at 76.53%. So when people say, oh, how could you rank it so low? It's like, well, it is actually for us right now, number 2 and number 3. So I'm sure as we go through more Rebels and other things, like for me, a 10 out of 10 or 100% to get there, I was changed as a person kind of thing. Like I saw that and I was so moved. You got me to tear up. I was emotionally pulled. Anything above a 90s got that high level involvement. 80s, it's really, really good. Like for me, I didn't put the Rogue One as high you guys did, but Rogue One I thought was really good. Like I was immersed the entire time and you care. C's for me, you enjoy it. You just flat out enjoy it. You're having a good time. Is it perfect? No. But you're not going to nitpick all the little things because it's a great time.
Fluff,
Yeah.
It's lore. It's like it's in the universe, you know?
Yeah. Like the Book of Boba Fett overall show, we gave it a 71%. So that's a
Not
C-.
great, but we still
We enjoyed it.
Which,
yeah.
if anyone, and like you can see all these numbers, they're indexed reference on our website, dueloftheranks.com. And if you're ever curious, like why the heck that number for that piece of content? Well, you're in luck. We have an episode talking all about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can go find it.
Absolutely. And if you have any thoughts on what your favorite piece of these two episodes were, be sure to put it down in the comment section below if you're checking out our YouTube channel or channels. Got
Yeah.
two of them. We got the clips. We got the live one. We've got a lot going on there. But
One last thing, though, on this episode. Are we not going to talk about Rex or Old Man? Clone.
Yes. I'm saving that, buddy. Oh, yeah. That's coming up like
Okay.
literally in like 12 seconds
Okay.
in the next segment.
11,
It's
10.
happening. All right. Well, with that said, it's time for the next segment of our show. Lord Vader, take it away.
way too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It's hot takes time, and I've got a hot take revolving around something Christian had just pointed out. For me, when I see Obi Wan Kenobi giving charity to Rex, for me that was the greatest form of forgiveness we visibly have seen in a live-action piece of Star Wars, because when you see, and I shouldn't say Rex, when he donates to that clone from the 501st, that whatever, you see that it's pretty crazy to think about that Obi-Wan acknowledges, hey, you're a part of the 501st. You are one of the men who took down my fellow Jedi kin. And yet, I'm still, I mean, it's one thing to, like, someone ask you for charity, or someone ask you for help and say, look, I don't wish any ill will against you, but I don't want you eating at my dinner table either, kind of thing, like Tupac said. So in this case, you look at it and you're like, just because he doesn't wish any ill will against this guy doesn't mean he's going to give him some of, by the way, Obi-Wan's not rich.
Yeah.
We saw that earlier. So I'm not going to give you any of my money. But Obi-Wan has this look of pity and kind of like, we're all kind of this shelved thing of the past. And so he does give him money. And I love that clone gives him a look and doesn't say anything like, thanks, General. There's a look that maybe he recognizes him. Maybe he's a little bit off at this point of his life. But it forces you to ask a lot of questions, like maybe he does recognize that, hey, that was Obi-Wan. The chip's worn off and he realizes this was all futile. And as he walks away, you see the two stormtroopers walk by, talking about ushering in the new. So there's a lot you could break down with that scene, talking about governments and how veterans have been treated and people that have been left on the street, how were once lifted up as heroes, now just to be homeless and begging for whatever they can get. So lots you could break down with that. But when I was thinking about just acts of forgiveness in the Star Wars universe, I don't think I've seen one that's visibly as striking as that.
I mean, maybe forgiveness isn't the right word, but I think of like Vader's redemption, or like, I'm blanking on some others, but I do like what you were saying about that. And just, I remember watching that, and I'd have to watch it again because I felt like it was kind of breezed over, but it was like humbling, yeah, and seeing Obi like, oh man, he is giving to him, and like that's cool that he did that. I didn't really see it too much as like an act of forgiveness. I saw it in that moment, just having pity on him and whatnot, but I think you could definitely like spin it or like argue it in that way.
I'm going to say it's milquetoast.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't ruffle my feathers. It wasn't that pivotal.
The greatest form of forgiveness.
For me, when I think of the greatest form of forgiveness, I think of Ben Kenobi, or Ben, like, and his dad at the Rise of Skywalker.
But the dad isn't forgiving him. It's just a memory.
There's
no real forgiveness going on.
I'm with you, Amanda.
Like, that's a bigger moment for me by far.
So you vote me down.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So, no,
is it milquetoast though?
Yeah.
It's milquetoast.
Wow. All right, fine. I gave this like long-winded answer just to be shut down entirely. Fine, Grievous.
You fool! Your take is milk toast.
All right. Anybody else have any other hot takes?
I do.
All right. What do you got?
Well, it's kind of like a long-winded hot take, but essentially you touched on it as we were talking about some of the things that other people have been mad about in this series. And I think that this series right out of the gate doubles down on the sequel trilogy themes and arcs when it comes to Old Man Luke and Obi-Wan both hiding from the Force because of their failures. You see the parallels of Rey and Obi-Wan living alone In Force Awakens, how Rey like takes care of herself in the cooking and like sitting outside and looking into the deserts of Tatooine and like living alone and with their like, I don't know. And then how when the Jedi, what's his name, Navi, Ben Safi's character tries to ask him for help, Obi-Wan says the time for the Jedi is over, and that is let the past die. That is the Last Jedi. So if you hate the sequels, then you're going to hate this series, is sort of my hot take. Like, just don't even try.
Ooh.
I disagree. I think you can dislike the sequels and thoroughly enjoy this series.
But the reasons that you'll dislike the sequels,
If it's all revolves around grumpy Luke. Yeah.
people will say it, but people will be like, oh yeah, the sequels are terrible because they ruin Luke.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah, no, I liked Luke in the sequels personally, so I'm good with that.
I would say, yeah, and I don't really have too much of a problem with Luke. I would say from the sequels, people didn't have, or they weren't finding or didn't have the reasons up front spelled out. They didn't have the reasons to see Luke like that. They're like, why the heck would Luke be this way? Or blah, 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 blah. Like, they weren't as, I guess, blatant or obvious, but like, it makes sense to me why they did that.
Yeah.
Whereas in Kenobi, we have every reason to believe and understand like why
Yeah.
Kenobi is so beat down and trodden, and like I don't think it's one as much of a shock because of we know this time period for Kenobi, and two, maybe because we've heard it on screen before, like in Last Jedi, maybe it's not as abrasive, in
there's
Kenobi.
one last point I remembered to make on this too, and that's when Bail is talking to Leia out on the like patio, and he's reinforcing her that she is an Organa like through and through.
Yeah.
That is like the same parallel as Rey taking on the Skywalker name. That is her adopted family. That is her chosen path by the people that loved her and helped her become the person that she is. And so that, for me, I was like, yes, all the Rey Skywalker haters out there, this one's for you. This is a big middle finger. And I loved that this like immediately was doubling down like, yes, the sequels are canon and you're not going to just like bitch them out of existence. So
All right. I like the sequels enough. The Force Awakens is my favorite Star Wars movie, which kind of makes me sad seeing how it all played out in the end, but it was interesting. It started off on a hot note. I don't feel like they're as connected as you do, but like I just see these as bridging the prequels and the originals right now. But I do see the parallelism between Obi-Wan and Old Man Luke.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from. And it's not that I disagree per se. I was not thinking of like the parallels of the sequels, like kind of tied to this in any way. But I do think of Leia as an Organa, and like I firmly believe and love the connection of adoption and what that can do for people. And yes, bloodline is very important, but at the same time, adoption is such a huge gift, and Bail is her dad.
yeah.
And so that's really cool. I would say these aren't tied too much to like the sequels as much as maybe you would say they are, but they're definitely, I don't think there's anything that like they're not juxtaposed against each other in any way.
My hot
I don't
take
think
is
at all.
that you won't like this if you also don't like the sequels.
I'm going to vote that down.
I voted down.
Okay.
But it's a
as
hot
long as
take
it's not milk
because you
toast.
ruffled my
Thank
feathers.
you.
Yeah.
You ruffled my feathers.
There were
Amanda.
feathers ruffled, but they were ruffled in the wrong way. Darth Vader.
I find your lack of good taste disturbing.
I every time I go back and I go through these edits, I notice how many times I say the same things. And whenever we play Darth Vader's soundbite, I've noticed how many times I go,
So, Darth Vader.
disturbing indeed. And then I just move on to the next thing. Things you don't notice you do until you have to listen to yourself like
Yeah.
40 times a day. It's one of them.
I bet you love it though.
I love listening to myself. Oh, remember when I said that really funny thing? Guys, listen to when I said this. It was so funny. I send it to you.
Rewind.
Let me send it to you. It's so funny. It's only 30 seconds long. You'll love it. I love it, so you'll love it. All right. Well, Christian, do you have a hot take for us?
I don't. I'm lame. So thank you guys for trying to.
To ruffle your feathers.
Yeah.
Well, I succeeded in that.
Yeah.
You did
Brody
succeed.
didn't.
I brought a big old warm glass of milk
Yeah.
talking about the 501st.
Hey, some people like those. You know?
Thought it was a real good take, but instead I just needed a friend to bring some
I love that you
Oreos.
love that scene so much, though. Like when I've only seen it that one time, but
It's so powerful.
if I rewatch that, I'll be thinking of you when I see that.
Well, of course I love it. It featured Tamara Morrison. Like,
Yeah.
let's get to the root of why.
Cross him off the bingo list.
So let's get to the root here. And by the way, that was the first time he's ever played a clone without any CGI, I believe, or at least since episode 2. But he wasn't in episode 3. It was only his head that was.
Mm.
The bodies
Yep.
were all CGI back then.
Oh.
It was cool to see that.
So he might have worn some clone armor in episode 2 at most. But yeah, this is the first time, at least since 2000, that he's donned clone
Wow.
armor.
It was cool to see.
Pretty cool indeed. Well, with that said, Charlie, bring us out into the last segment of the show.
This is the way to trivia time!
I love these videos. I love these
That was
videos you
great.
did, Brody. You
Thank
did a
you.
good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I shout out to Charlie, who's out in Nashville. And I reminded myself, I'm like, you know what? You did this sound bite for us. Would you mind getting a Jedi robe? And he's like, what? And I'm like, and a suit. He's like,
And do some dancing.
He's like, I don't know where you're going with this, but I'm in. And yeah, it turned into a fun little transition video. Well, Amanda, it's trivia time. And I believe you have the question of the week.
Yes, I do. So, as we know, Deborah Chow is the director for the Obi Wan Kenobi series. Which episode of The Mandalorian did Deborah Chow direct?
Ooh.
Season 1, Chapter 2, The Child. Season 1, Chapter 7, The Reckoning. Season 1, Chapter 8, Redemption. Or Season 2, Chapter 12, The Siege.
Oh, man. Now I just want you to summarize each one of those
I know, right?
episodes.
What was the second one again?
The Reckoning.
What was that one
Season 1, Chapter 7.
That's what I was thinking.
That one has Moff Gideon in it. I think that's the second to the last one of season 1.
about? Okay.
And then Chapter 8 is the redemption where they like go out of the Mandalorian tunnel in IG.
No, she wouldn't have done that
Wouldn't she have?
one. No, I don't believe it.
Why not?
I don't know.
I'll go with. I'm gonna go with The Reckoning.
What was the last one again?
The Siege, Season 2, Chapter 12.
What's that one about? That's way too late.
The Mandalorian rejoins old allies for a new mission.
I'm going to go with The Reckoning as well.
It is The Reckoning. Yes.
Oh, we got it, Christian.
She
I
also
would have
has
failed without
directed
multiple
a
choice.
second episode,
Yeah, she's.
which was, what episode was that? Chapter 3, The Sin, which
alright.
features like the armor making her, turning that Beskar into,
Very cool.
yeah.
Very cool.
That's a good question.
Well, that was a good question. And guys, this was a great episode. We reviewed the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan.
We did not check in on our bingo cards though.
Oh,
let's check those
that's
out.
right. We've got
Let's-
bingo cards.
Y'all remember our predictions, and we put our predictions on these cool bingo cards
Yeah.
that Amanda made.
To see if we could get a bingo. And we can, right now we're looking at Christians and he is marked off
Is
Tamara
this-
Morrison.
This is after the end of
Episode 2.
2.
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
all right.
Yep. Looks like we've got Leia. What is it? Yeah, you said violence and death.
Violence and
I
death.
felt like that was a pretty safe umbrella
It
term.
was a
Yeah.
safe one.
But
Violence. Death.
It was risky when you said TV9.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
was
we were like, oh,
gosh.
oh crap.
Obi has Annie's saber.
Which we found out which was so crazy.
I love that it was in the box.
I
was like,
know. Oh
Bingo.
my gosh, I wanted to
Yeah.
cry.
Let's see. Obi is cut off from the Force. Christian's got that. And Vader in the healing chamber. So,
Yep.
good job. You're only 2 away. If you see Sebulba, doubt it. Or Great Dragon, also don't think that's happening now. You're good. Otherwise, you got 2 in the other direction. Anakin's childhood friends, still doubt it.
Kitster, let's have it.
I don't think you're getting Kitster. Or Obi-Wan having a drink. That you might get.
Yeah.
That you might get
Let's
in
get
this
some
show.
whiskey in there.
But if it's up to Kitster, I don't think you're gonna get a bingo. So-
you might be right.
So yeah, there goes Christian, and then let's look at Amanda. Oh, Amanda.
slays.
Ooh, I'm coming
One
close.
away.
Yeah.
Oh,
You had
I also had Violence and Death. I also had Tamara Morrison.
Yep.
I had Padme.
you had Padme in there.
Vader without his helmet. Order 66 flashback. And the Obi-Wan chin scratch, deep in thought. Oh, and Reva is a bad bitch.
Yep.
I had that predicted. So all I need is Force Ghost to appear. And I feel like that's probably I'm going to make that happen.
Like a
You're gonna
Force
make it.
Ghost. Just
You're gonna make it.
someone's
I'm gonna make it
Force
happen.
Ghost.
I was thinking it would happen for sure with Qui-Gon, but then I remembered in Rebels he was only able to
doesn't.
show up as a Force Ghost on that planet
Yep.
because it was.
But maybe
so-
Yoda does.
But he's still alive.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm wondering if you're gonna get that
Ah.
bingo now, unless Obi-Wan goes to some crazy Force. I don't know, presence planet.
High midichlorian count.
Yeah. I don't
And
know.
what about yours, Brody?
Well, let's see. For myself, I'm not doing as hot as y'all. I've got only one thing. Tamara
no,
Morrison.
no, there's a second version of yours that
Oh,
has
okay.
Jawas and Yoda off
Yeah,
of it
you
too.
had Jawas.
Yeah,
You had Yoda.
I get another one, so
You got some things,
It's like
man.
the only thing I got was
Just Tamara
Tamara Morrison.
which is on brand.
That's the only thing I was paying attention to. That's all I cared about.
He's
Guys,
great.
Guys, I don't care about how the rest of the show goes. Call me if Boba Fett shows up. Do not care. No, actually, I'm not doing that well. I did say Kamal Nanjiani is a former Jedi, and
You were close.
I thought for a second there I was
Yeah.
excited. I feel like I'm watching fantasy football. I'm not rooting for teams to win or lose. I'm rooting for my predictions to
Yeah.
be right.
Yeah.
You're
People-
trying to will these things into the
Yeah,
show.
like he's like Kamal Nanjiani. I'm like, oh look, he's a Jedi, but the whole scene felt like it was a
I was
sham,
like,
and I was like,
oh.
I know this is off. But then there was magnets, and like I'm just like, crap. People like
Yeah.
look around me, they're like, why
I
are
guess-
you upset?
Oh, we'll talk about episode 3 later.
Yep,
Yeah.
episode 3 will keep coming down on him, but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, all right, and I
That's
also have a
fair.
doubt we're ever gonna hear him say another happy landing at this point.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem happy enough to say that
No.
at all.
He's not that
You'd have
chipper.
to be in a very different place.
He's not there anymore. Not where he was at the beginning of episode 3. So, all right. Well, that concludes this episode of Duel of the Ranks. If you like our show, Amanda, where can they follow us?
Check us out at dueloftheranks.com. There you can check out our store to get some of your own Duel of the Ranks merch. We also have all of our episodes and rankings, so you can go back and see where we've ranked previous episodes. Then you can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And
At Duel of the Ranks.
yeah, at Duel of the Ranks. Don't forget to send us your hot takes and your
Yeah.
feedback if you feel like Brody really deserved a hot take for his 501st thing. I don't
Yeah,
know if you
show
really
him
feel that
some
way,
love.
but yeah, let us know.
Help me, fans. You're my only hope. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. We are going to be coming back here in about 5 minutes because episode 3 did release yesterday. So we're going to be talking about that now live. But we wanted to record this episode first for all of the listeners who are waiting till the weekend to check out episode 3. So that way we can give you a spoiler-free review for
Yep.
this one. So thanks for checking out this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks. The next episode, the next part for episode 3 is going to be released on Sunday as a special episode, just because we're in a
And then
generous
we'll be
mood.
back on. Then we'll be back on schedule.
Then we'll
Yeah.
be back on schedule.
Unless Disney decides
like-
to change it up again.
Yeah.
Disney kind of changed it up, and they had a Friday and a Wednesday release. It was not conducive to the Duel of the Ranks schedule. I don't know who approved it, but
Would have been nice to have some consulting.
Kathleen
Yes.
Kennedy did not call me. Did she call you, Christian? Amanda?
No, I didn't get it.
No one pinged you? Okay, well, I'll have our people talk to her people
Yeah.
and get that figured out for Andor or something, because not exactly a cool move. So we'll talk to him. Anyway, episode 3 coming up next on Duel of the Ranks. See you there.